This is the Louis T. Network.
In the lab room.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here today on the program. It's Thursday, which means it's football day. And if it's football day, time to break down a Thursday night matchup. And it's a dandy. I can't wait to watch NFC West showdown between the 3-3 Arizona Cardinals, who will be hosting the NFC West leading Seattle Seahawks. They come into the game at 5-1, and this is going to be a very compelling football game for so many different reasons. A lot of people don't get to see the Arizona Cardinals nor the Seattle Seahawks that often, and I think these are two solid football teams. The Seahawks, I think, they're an exceptional football team, and I want to see them away from home. I've talked about this all season long. I talked about this all offseason, and the fact that this team is dominant, at which the likes we haven't seen in this league at home. Yet when they go on the road, they're not the same team. Now, granted, when you're as good as they are at home and you go on the road, it's hard to follow that act up. But I'm expecting them to play a little bit better than what they've been showing of late. Now, they've been struggling at home a little bit. Now, look, it's hard to say a team is struggling when they're still winning. They've only lost one game on the season, and you could argue they probably should have won that game as well at Indy. They were up 12-0 in that football game, and so hard to say that a team is struggling, but when they're 5-1. But looking at the Seahawks, that game on Sunday versus the Tennessee Titans at home, not what I'm used to, not what I'm accustomed to from this Seattle Seahawks team at home. So looking for them to be a little bit sharper in this football game, and they'll probably need to be if they're looking to secure a victory on the road versus an NFC West rival. This is family business, two teams that know each other extremely well. I expect a well-played ball game. I expect some turnovers in this football game from both sides. Carson Palmer, he's a turnover machine right now. I don't know what's gotten into him, but he can't seem to go a whole football game, 4 quarters, without sharing the football at least twice. And I don't understand why he can't be a little bit more careful with the football. He's a veteran quarterback. He knows better. He knows how turnovers impact a football game. He needs to be more judicious with his decision making. And right now, his decision making isn't getting it done. And they're lucky to be 3-3 right now. Honestly, this Arizona Cardinals team has turned it over too much. And this defense must be given a lot of credit. I don't think they've been given enough just due yet, because they've kept this team in ball games. That Carolina game, for instance, they kept that team in a football game when the offense was struggling. And they've kept them in games all season long and gave them opportunities to win, like that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. And so this team needs to be given credit, especially the defense, for hanging in and being a unit that this team can lean on week in and week out. Now, is this unit good enough to flat out win you football games? No, not good enough. But if the defense continues to play the way they've been playing, and the offense can stop turning the football over, put more points on the scoreboard. Look, this is an offense that has the ability to be explosive. You've got Larry Fitzgerald, and he's hobbled. He's got a hamstring injury. He's going to go in this football game, and he'll have 11 days to rest, so hopefully he can come out of this game no worse for the wear and have 11 days off to kind of nurse that injury a little bit up. But they've got Larry Fitzgerald. They've got Michael Floyd. He's starting to come on. You've still got Andre Roberts. I think they need to use Rob Hausler more. I haven't seen enough of him. This was a guy that was one of your leading targets a season ago, and I think he needs to be more involved with the offense. But you've got guys stepping up. Andre Ellington has been a pleasant surprise this season. You look at the production that you've got from him, and you thought that, hey, we went out and we got Rashard Mendenhall, and we've got some guys that we like. Maybe we can make this thing happen at the running back position. But Andre Ellington has stepped up and separated himself from the rest of that backfield. He is your primary ball carrier. I mean, they still start Rashad Mendenhall and I feel like they need to. Feel like that's a good move. You don't want to overwork Andre Ellington. He's already catching it out of the backfield. He's already in on third downs with pass pro, and you're handing him the football as well. He's the guy that I think is a great change of pace, and so I think they're utilizing him the way he needs to be used in this offense, and he's a weapon for them. He's a guy that's shifty, a little bit faster than one might think, very shifty. I like his use in this offense, and I think that if they can just stop turning, and I keep harping on it, and I keep going back to that, they can just stop turning the football over in Arizona. This is a dangerous team, especially when they're at home. You look at Seattle, and for me, my biggest thing is they just need to get healthy. They're missing so many guys. It's so hard to really assess this Seattle Seahawks team when you've got 4 guys missing on your offensive line. They got some guys back last game against Tennessee. They're still missing about 2 starters on the offensive line. You're still missing Percy Harvin. And so they're about to get Zach Miller back at the tight end position. So they've had some injuries. So it's hard to really assess this Seattle Seahawks offense because I think they've struggled. Russell Wilson hasn't been as sharp as he was toward the tail end of last season. This offensive line we know has been in shambles. And so he's had to run around and make things happen. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, is still getting it done. It doesn't matter who's in the game, he's still being beast mode. But this offense isn't as efficient as it could be if this whole offensive unit was intact. And I know in the National Football League, you're going to have to deal with injuries. You're going to have that next man mentality, next man up. But for the Seahawks to be playing with one starter, and that one guy was J.R. Sweezy, to have one starter in multiple games on your offensive line, to be missing probably your best wide receiver in Percy Harvin for the entire year to this point, and to not have your best tight end in Zach Miller, hard to ask this offense to perform at maximum efficiency. Hard to ask them to go out and perform like the team we saw in the postseason that was putting up yardage and points and being a team that was hard to stop offensively. Hard to ask them to go out and be proficient as an offense when they don't have all of their pieces. But again, no one is going to shed a tear for this Seattle Seahawks team. That's the nature of the NFL. Gotta be able to deal with injuries. You gotta have depth, and they've been able to weather the storm. They're 5-1. But this is the issue in this football game. This Arizona Cardinals defense is good. Better than I think a lot of people give them credit for it. But this Arizona Cardinals team is extremely dangerous at home. If I'm not mistaken, they have not lost at home all season long. They're 2-0. And I just can't see the Seattle Seahawks beating the Arizona Cardinals. Here's why. This team is better defensively than people give them credit for. And with Darrell Washington coming off of his suspension, they've been that much better. I felt like they went to San Francisco last week and played competitive football, had opportunities to win that football game. Despite the 3 turnovers, despite the safety, they had chances in this game, but you can't turn it over that many times and surrender the football as many times as they did in this game and expect to win. So that's why they lost, but the defense played ball. If you want to beat the Arizona Cardinals, what it's going to take offensively is an athletically elite tight end. If you have a guy that can stretch the field vertically and be a mismatch nightmare against the Arizona Cardinals, you have the recipe for beating these guys. In their losses, they faced tight ends that have tormented them. In week 1, it was Jared Cook Jr., his best performance as a Ram to date. He absolutely lit the Arizona Cardinals up like a Christmas tree. You look at the New Orleans Saints, Jimmy Graham had his way with this Arizona Cardinals football team. You look at the game that just passed with Vernon Davis. They lost that football game, and they lost that game because they could not contain Vernon Davis. So you look at their 3 losses on the season, they gave up well over 100 yards to an individual tight end that got them for multiple touchdowns and dominated the football game. The Seattle Seahawks don't have that guy on their football team. Even though they're probably getting Zach Miller back in this game, He's not a guy that scares you vertically. He's not a guy that's going to challenge your defender and win a lot of one-on-one matchups. He's a guy that can get open versus zone coverage. He's a guy that can beat one-on-one coverage on certain instances, but he's not a guy that scares you. You don't game plan to stop Zach Miller. He's a guy that if you throw him the football, 9 times out of 10, he'll catch it, very soft hands, but he's not a guy that threatens you vertically, that scares you as a mismatch. It seems like defensive coordinator Todd Bowles thinks it's a good idea to just leave Jeremiah Bell one-on-one with the other team's tight end. And I don't think Todd Bowles got the memo that Jeremiah Bell isn't in his 5th year in the National Football League anymore. He's about a 12-year veteran. And so Jeremiah Bell isn't a spring chicken. He can't run with the elites anymore. He can't run with the guys who are athletically gifted, like a Jared Cook, like a Vernon Davis, like a Jimmy Graham. And that's what has been the undoing of this Arizona Cardinals team early in the season. Turnovers and athletically gifted tight ends. The Seahawks don't possess that, and I feel like this Arizona Cardinals defense can do enough to slow down the Seattle Seahawks offensive attack, keep this game low scoring, give themselves a chance. They don't have to worry about an athletic tight end going off and going bonkers on them. I feel like the Arizona Cardinals, if they can keep the turnovers to a minimum, they're going to turn it over. Carson Palmer is going to throw at least 1 interception in this game. If he can keep it at 1 and not turn it over 2 or 3 times, if Rashad Mendenhall isn't fumbling the football, if this Arizona Cardinals team can limit the turnovers and just turn it over once as a team, they're going to win this football game. Give me the Arizona Cardinals in this matchup to win in a very good football game, 23-17. And if the Seahawks force turnovers, if they can run the football, establish the run with Marshawn Lynch, open up play action fake for Russell Wilson, and keep him relatively clean in this football game, then the Seahawks will take care of business. But the key to the game for me is forcing turnovers. If this Seahawks defense can do that, and they cannot turn it over themselves, because I expect Arizona to get after Russell Wilson and force the issue in this football game and force them into some mistakes. If they can limit the mistakes themselves, not turn it over, and be efficient offensively, then Seattle will walk into Arizona and walk out with a W. But I don't see it happening. I see them turning the football over. I see Arizona doing enough in this game, and they don't have to worry about that athletic tight end eating them alive in that secondary. Give me the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football. Might be a surprise to you. For me, this is a sound pick. Give me Arizona on Thursday Night Football to get it done at home. So, you know what time it is. Want to tack on this quick extra point. And for me, the extra point of today, I look around the league and I'm seeing quarterbacks making statements. I read a couple of funny articles today. One was Josh Freeman talking about his situation in Minnesota, how much better it is and how professional they are. Of course, you would expect him to say that. I looked at Christian Ponder, though, and he said, hey, I'm starting to weigh all of my options now that they've named Josh Freeman the starter. Really? Really, Christian? What options do you speak of? Okay? Enlighten me, please, because last time I checked, you were a marginal starter in this league at best. And yeah, you're a young guy, and maybe you can get better, but who's going to give you the keys to their vehicle, to their franchise? That was your chance. You're not getting another opportunity to be a starter for anybody. So what opportunity or opportunities or options are you talking about? What are you talking about? Wherever you go from here on out, you're going to be a backup. Now, if someone were to go down due to injury, maybe you'll get a chance to start. Maybe you'll have a chance to show that you've grown as a quarterback, but you won't go into a situation as the unquestioned starter wherever you end up if you're not in Minnesota after this season's over. So I just got a nice chuckle out of Christian Ponder for that. Yeah, thanks a lot. I needed that laugh. And I saw Brandon Whedon had on earmuffs after he threw the flip interception on Sunday. Man, Brandon Whedon is a joke. And I used to defend this guy. I really wanted him to succeed in this league. Everyone counted him out because he was older when he was drafted, because he elected to play baseball before deciding on football. And he came in with a chip on his shoulder, I thought, that, hey, I'm older, but I can get it done. I have the arm strength. I'm a smart enough quarterback. I'll show everyone that thought I wasn't good enough, that thought I was too old to be a sufficient starter in this league. And he's come in and did exactly what people thought he was going to do. Turn the football over, be erratic, inconsistent, and he's turning the football over in a multitude of ways now. And that underhanded pick is a microcosm of his career to this point. And the fact that he had to put on earmuffs because the crowd was letting him have it, that is absolutely hilarious. And I feel bad for Browns fans because they had hope with Billy Ho. And when Brian Hoyer went down for the season, that hope got flushed down the toilet in Cleveland. And it's unfortunate because now you'll never know what this season. This division was wide open. Okay? This division may never be this wide open again. You may never get the opportunity to win the AFC North like you have it this year. You can't expect the Steelers to be a down team every year. You can't expect the Ravens to be struggling. They made some moves in the offseason that they were forced to make. Trust me, Ozzie Newsome will have this team locked and loaded come next year this time around. And so this division was wide open. The Bengals are inconsistent on the road. You had an opportunity to do something special this season, and it was taken from you. And now you're left with Brandon Weeden. Hey, there's always Jason Campbell, right? And that's going to do it for me today here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Come back on Friday when I break down my Pick'em Weekly and give you a winner for every single matchup in week number 7. I will see you on Friday. Remember, if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we covered all here in the Lab Room. See you on Friday. Enjoy the football. I know I will. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the lab